Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and welcome to the Battle for Azeroth Alpha and the first look at the Restoration Druid, who has had an interesting past leading up to these changes. Some of them are quite simple, yet rather sweeping in scope. And one in particular change, if you are a Restoration Druid healer out there, you will be sad about. And the other change, you will go, oh. So if you want to keep up to date with all of the testing we have done, of course, the entire testing VOD will be uploaded right here on the channel. If that interests you, of course, as an archive in the future, that will just be on Twitch. But if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel right here to not miss any of the first and second pass looks, as well as islands, warfronts when they come back, maybe some raid testing and some dungeons. There's so much to do before like the middle of July. So we'll see if we can get through all of it. You can, of course, do that down there. And in the subscription, on the description box right down there, in the video description box, rather. All my socials are down there. So check those out if you want to be part of the live testing streams. Go for it. And the Restoration Druid, you'll see there's something missing on the hotbar down there. If you followed the other Druid videos so far, you'll realize and remember and know that Healing Touch has been removed. Were you surprised? I mean, I was kind of surprised, but with the loss of Nature's Swiftness all those years ago too, it really doesn't really do a whole lot. The Restoration Druid is quite focused on being the throughput heal over time style healer. That is just how it goes. You cast hots. You have all the hots. Cast all of them. Put the mushroom down there. Yeah. Get all the heals over time that you can stack. Go for it. Which, of course, that is still your mastery. So your mastery is still Harmony. This does stack on each individual hot. So even putting one hot up gives you the effect of Harmony. And each, of course, extra one after that just stacks one extra stack of Harmony, basically. So currently, and I will show off this sort of, I can't really do this in any type of situation right now. Not enough haste on the character. And the situation where it happens is kind of convoluted. You can have 9 hots on one person, barring some RNG, but 9 is the new number. So if you are currently looking at how many you could have on live, you can have 9 now, which is arguably only like +1, but the +1 and where it comes from, more on that soon. Omen of Clarity still remains here for the Lifebloom ticks. Have a chance to give you the clear casting on your regrowth. You still have your passive, of course, Ysera's Gift. If you are Restoration, Balance, or Feral, it's 3% healing. If you are Guardian, it's been lowered to 1.5. The other affinities, of course, still give you what they normally would. But I want to make sure I open and bring this up again in this video. I've almost brought it up in every single video that I've made for Druid as it is. Bear form has been nerfed in the stamina department. It is only 25% stamina amp and 220% armor. So a little more armor. Just because the armor scaling changes, of course, when a new expansion comes out. But only 25% stamina if you have Guardian Affinity, if you are not the actual bear itself. They still get 55%. But this is a big deal with the survivability core kit of the Restoration Druid and how they do really well at Mythic Plus and how it's just Holy Paladins and Resto Druids all the time, right? This will change that a little bit. It also impacts Frenzied Regeneration, which is now a 36-second cooldown reduced by haste that only heals you for 25% of your maximum health over 5 seconds while you remain in bear form with that hot active. And no, it does not work with Harmony. So, at least our tests that we did, it doesn't work with Harmony. I don't know if it's going to change or anything like that. That'd be blah. But one charge. You still, of course, get 10 rage when you shift into bear form, and you get 20 rage. So you can still pop Frenzied Regen. No problem. But you have to stay in bear form for it to heal you. You have less stamina, and there's none of that weird snapshotting madness that you have on live right now. Just a little bit of a hit to that. In the Feral Affinity category, everyone has one additional ability baseline now. So you have Mangle baseline, you have Shred baseline, and of course you still have your Sunfire, Moonfire, and Wrath baseline. But Feral Affinity, same benefits you have on live right now. Obviously there's no bleed scaling that you have if you're actually a cat, but there is a auto attack scaling aura built into cat form that is 40%. This is mainly to help kitty cats scale with weapon damage. But because cat shifting, at least without bringing up the madness that you wear the shoulders and the cloak, the Boomkin shoulders and cloak, and you Guardian Affinity right now, and you go bear form and just spam Moonfire and Thrash, apparently. That's how you deal damage as a Restoration Druid. Barring that nonsense aside, because that's obviously all gone going into battle for Azeroth, cat form shifting is the more aggressive way. You can put up your Sunfire or Moonfire, go into cat form, get your Rip, get your Rake out there, do some bleed damage, shift back, heal, go back in, etc. A little bit of a boost to that. Balance Affinity, of course, is the easier and safer option where you just go in and out of the Balance Affinity Moonkin form. There's no cooldown on Balance Affinity if you are actually a caster. There's a cooldown if you're a bear or a cat, but no cooldown if you're actually just a chicken or a tree, right? So it is 5 yards Astral Influence if you are a caster. It's only 3 yards for Astral Influence if you're a bear or cat. So that is a slight change to that overall as well. Just trying to bring the affinities to have a little bit less power and more about the utility that you want for them. The caster benefit here is there, and again, the Feral Affinity one with the new auto attack scaling and the Guardian Affinity one is still there for survivability, but definitely is lessened compared to live. Now, some more things to talk about here. Let me bring up my notes. Ah, yes. You may have seen these on the hotbar. Soothe returns. And all the druids have it, but bear? Which is, it's fine. You can't really cast Soothe when you're in bear form. Which I guess I don't know why. Let me double check that actually now that I'm thinking here, looking at it. Because one of them didn't have it. Didn't have Soothe. It removes 1 enrage effect on the target. Yeah, it's not here. You still have Hibernate as a bear, but not Soothe. So Soothe is there for the healer and DPS specs, but not the tank. Would that be too strong if it was? Interesting, whatever. You have Hibernate as well. This comes back without the new rules that are tied to the new CCs. So it's still it's 35 yards right now because I have Balance Affinity on, but it's just the cast time sleep on Beast and Dragonkin with no cooldown. So that comes back. Innervate is still here. Ironbark, still here. Goes back to the 90-second cooldown. Barkskin at the 1-minute cooldown. Entangling Roots, all the same, right? Efflo, still the exact same functionality it has right now. No sign of Boom Shrooms yet, unfortunately. We'll see how those work out. All of the heals are still the same as they are on live, right? Your Nature's Cure is still here. So does Magic Curse and Poison. So of all this kind of stuff right now. Swift Mend actually has its cooldown reduced to 25 seconds baseline, down from 30, which is nice. Again, no Healing Touch, so direct heals are a thing. They have to kind of buff that up just a little bit. Ursul's Vortex is still here, so you can still talent, of course, into Typhoon and make Ursul's Toilet. That is still very much a thing. However, on the topic of direct heals, we brought this up on stream today. That obviously heals over time. Big deal for the Resto Druid. There is an interaction with Lifebloom that I didn't know about, that maybe some of you didn't as well. Since Lifebloom has to finish the whole duration to do the snap heal, there is a interaction with it when you use it and pandemic the effect. So looking at these windows of time, and this comes into play more often with stacking HOTS, if you recast Lifebloom at 5 seconds, oh, that was at 6, I guess. If you recast Lifebloom at 5 or less seconds, it will force the bloom to happen. And by default, it doesn't really heal for that much. But again, of course, it stacks with Harmony. There it goes. So this is to prevent you from losing that effect. On live, I think people talked about how it's under 3, but over testing over and over and over again today during the VOD section, at 5 seconds, there it is. So if you stack up and have a whole bunch of HOTS running, normally on the tank in this regard, combining Swift Mend into refreshing your Lifebloom under 5 seconds is going to be 2 immediate heals. that is definitely going to be a thing you can min-max if that is something you're interested in. That's just ways to look at how you would directly heal quickly due to the fact that you don't have healing touch anymore. You can't just cast a big heal. And on the topic of healing in that regard, you may have seen this in the mouse over, Regrowth lost its additional crit chance baseline because that's been rolled into Abundance. So Abundance has the Rejuve stacking, where Regrowth's cost and critical effect chance will be a stacking buff in a reduction to the mana cost and a critical strike chance increase for layering your Regrowths, or layering your Rejuvenations for Regrowth in that regard. Because this had a Regrowth and Healing Touch component, but again, Healing Touch is gone, so now you have the Abundance talent here. Prosperity still gives you 2 charges of Swift Mend and gives you 3 more seconds off of the cooldown. So now you've got this 22-second baseline cooldown. So this does immediately bring up the possibility of Soul of the Forest being a little bit stronger due to the overall cooldown of Prosperity being brought down by 5 seconds baseline. Other than those base changes, let's see. Living Seed has been removed. Poof, gone. I don't know if anyone's going to shed any tears over Living Seed being removed. It always usually overhealed or only had some weird shenanigans. I was told that Mythic Plus with like gaming Living Seeds on pulls or big trash packs or something like that, but it's been removed, so no need to worry about it anymore. And Stonebark and Germination, which you'll see on the talents, have switched places. Oh, Rebirth. Here's a note. Rebirth now has a cast time again for all 3 Druid specs except Guardian. Still instant cast in bear form, costs 10 rage. However, it does not shift you out of cat form to cast it. It will just have the actual little cast time there with it, but it is 100% HP. The other 2 battle reses in the game are 60-20. Yours is 100-20. So keep that in mind, that they did give you back the cast time. You did have it in Warlords. There was a glyph to remove it, and then they made it baseline in Legion, but they've reverted that now. Again, with the whole change to how those reg utility toolkits are being tweaked a little bit, they slow down that battle res moment to actually have a meaningful cast time, which may or may not be meaningful depending on how you think about it. But Druid res is best res, because resing at 60% health, if you don't do it properly, you could also just die again. But 100% health, a little bit safer, right? So that is the Rebirth change. And I think that is everything. Oh, the Moonkin form, if you actually talent into it, has less armor now, only 125%. And the other big change I will get to after we roll through the rest of the talents. So Cenarian Ward remains untouched. Wild Charge, of course, still remains, that if it stacks with Balance Affinity, it does the leap to someone, or the Bear Charge, the Moonkin bound backwards, the leap forward, etc. Renewal is still here, and Tiger Dash replaces Displacer Beast. It also replaces Dash itself. Dash by itself is now a 2-minute cooldown, 60% movement speed for 10 seconds, changed from a 3-minute cooldown, 70% for 15. So Tiger Dash is ludicrous speed. It's 200% for 4 seconds that gradually decays over the 4 seconds. So if you actually need to get somewhere right now, as fun and as good as Displacer Beast was for an actual mobility cooldown, Tiger Dash is hilarious, because it will take you further in those 4 seconds than a Displacer Beast would anyway. Wild Charge, of course, has the mobility options there, but it requires different forms, or all you can do in caster form, or in, you know, withered broccoli form here, Twigman form, is to leap to an ally's position. So you have to go cat form to go to a target, or Moonkin form to bounce backwards, tribal form if you're actually outside to leap forward, that kind of thing. Or Tiger Dash is just really, 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 really fast sprinting for 4 seconds. Mostly like 2.5 seconds, and then it kind of tapers off, obviously. But it's still rather ridiculous. Of course, the overall hook here with your Restoration Druid, putting all the hots out, very much still how they do their thing. Now, Typhoon, Mass Entangle, Mighty Bash, unchanged, right? You still have your main 50-second, 5-second melee stun. You still have, of course, Typhoon to do the Ursul's Toilet, where you can put it on things, knock them around it, or that came out of my left side. I guess I was turning my character, right? That is still there. Soul of the Forest, as I went over with Prosperity, does get a little bit more juicy now because of the cooldown reduction. So using Swift Mend will give you the 200% rejuve or regrowth, or the 75% increased healing on your next wild growth. Cultivation remains the rejuvenation when it heals a target below 60% health. It applies the Cultivation Hot, which more or less just gives you that tiny extra heal. Ouch. Ouch, there it goes. So it's very, very, very tiny, but it does, of course, scale your mastery up because it does count as a heal over time. And as long as it keeps healing you under 60%, it keeps refreshing the hot. That is all still there. And then Incarnation, Tree of Life, Super Broccoli Man, Broccoli Form, Tree Man, whatever you want to call it, is very much still here. Still has the 15% overall healing done, 120% armor increase, the polymorph immunity, and it does the all effects. Let me do this real quick. Still has all of the effects that are built in that you're used to right now. However, it's the only incarnation that has any type of form with it that actually looks good. The incarnations for all of the 3 druid specs need to be fixed for BFA. Because at least you have that animation. You still have, some of you don't like the whole like bob, 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 like the stupid mouth wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I don't understand why it does that. I'm with you. I don't know why he's just so happy to be healing. He or she or it is it. He said, big old broccoli man. But it still does the +2 targets on wild growth, instant cast roots. It does the instant cast regrowths and the increased healing on rejuvenations and the mana cost reductions. All that is still there at Incarnation. Spring Blossom remains unchanged. Efflorescence heals give you that tiny little extra hot. Again, scaling Harmony. Stonebark moved up here, and it still has the reduction in cooldown for Ironbark by 30 seconds, and it does the 20% healing amp when they are under the effect of Ironbark. There was some weird interaction right now online that apparently on live that Ironbark counts as a hot and scales your heal like Harmony would normally. But if I cast a regular Rejuve on myself right now, it's healing for 207, and Ironbark myself, it still heals for 207. So that may have been a bug and is now fixed. But obviously, if you take Stonebark, you get the 20% heal amp flatly. It just adds 20% mastery, essentially, to the target with your Ironbark on it. Inner Peace takes off a minute from Tranquility. Moment of Clarity, which is one of the talents that I sort of brazed over at the beginning that needs to be updated or fixed a little bit, because it's not as good as Germination or Flourish at all. So I put forth a suggestion that maybe it should stay with the 3 regrowths and give them more healing, or it should make 1 next wild growth free. Okay, it's a mana saving talent. Germination is a mana spending talent, where you can put the 2 rejuves out there, which obviously costs more mana, but this does stack more hots, right? This is the whole point of the Resto Druid. You can stack all the heals over time for even more Harmony stacking. With the crit being removed from regrowth and being added into this talent, people were wondering if the crit bonuses or the crit stat will be as beneficial for Restoration Druid. However, I am pretty sure that it's only going to be haste and mastery, or mastery and haste, most likely as your main stats, right? You still have Innervate baseline here too. I didn't really go over that, but you can still innervate yourself or a friendly healer. That is still a possibility. The reason why I say haste, mastery, mastery, haste is the biggest change to Restoration Druid overall right now. And I'm going to stand over here. I'm still going to be able to hit a bunch of NPCs when I do this, but Tranquility, you cannot cast it while moving. That was obviously an artifact perk, so you have to stand still and cast it. It has been returned to the Cataclysm/Mop style. So it's a 3-minute cooldown, where it's a channeled spell that heals within 40 to 45 yards. I have balance affinity again. That heals over 8 seconds. It ticks 5 times. But each time it ticks, each time it heals you, anyone else, they gain a hot that stacks 5 times. Still has the double healing when you're not in a raid. This hot not only scales the heal from Tranquility, from giving you 1 stack of Harmony, but also acts as a Harmony stack. So, it immediately buffs itself, it scales faster with your haste, and it scales up in potency with your mastery. And the hot lasts 8 seconds after you are done casting Tranquility. This is probably the single biggest change to the Restoration Druid. Yes, you do have to stand still to cast Tranquility, but haste, mastery, mastery, haste, big Tranquilities, extra Harmony scaling, faster to cast Tranquility, and the fact that this adds the hot synergy to it, which means that any of your blanketed rejuvenations beforehand, the Lifebloom on the tank, any of the wild growth before and after, all of that scales Tranquility that much more, and the fact that it scales itself is huge. So once this comes back off cooldown, I will show you something that makes this even more ridiculous. The new Flourish. So the current Flourish on live is just 6 extra seconds on all your hots that are currently out there on a 1-minute cooldown. This new version takes the essence of Gahanir and rolls it in baseline. Gahanir, essence of Gahanir, your artifact weapon on my back, right? It's a 90-second cooldown that increases the duration of all of your heal over time effects on all friendly targets within 60 yards by 8 seconds, and also increases the rate at which your heal over time effects work by 100% for 8 seconds as well. It's not only the old Flourish, but adds 2 seconds. It's also your artifact weapon trait as well, all rolled into one. So the amount of possible overhealing you can do with this is hysterical. However, the amount of raid healing you can do with this now is ridiculous. The one thing I will try to show off here, I did a little bit in the VOD, and we'll watch the, let me actually clean up the combat log here. Let me just refresh it with just a Lifebloom. Let that just tick through. This combination, where the possibility of a Restoration Druid being the entire one healer that does an entire raid cooldown to themselves without combining anything else, is a little silly. So obviously you take Incarnation for this if you're going to be doing this huge, beneficial, crazy thing. Which, it's not necessary, you don't need to. But if we're talking about this awkwardly, right? We're going to take Cenarian Ward, which will try to get this to work properly. It's quite a lot to max out in a very short amount of time. And getting combat here real quick with this guy. Wow! So, I don't know if the 9 hots will actually work, due to the fact that there is a lot that has to be done here. So we're gonna pandemic this. We're gonna pandemic this. We're going to this, and then this. I probably should have popped tree form first. So here's tree form, into this, into Flourish. Still going. Yep, some of the hots are still going. That was only 8. I think I had 8 there. I didn't get a regrowth off. So, this is our combat log. And this is all just on myself. I'm not showing you the combat log of any of the other healing that went over to those target dummies. You want to see that? Okay, we'll see that. Still going. Yep. You get the idea. It might actually be my entire combat log right now. There's the Lifebloom. There was the reset. Okay. So there's this. So You can have an 8-stack wild growth out. You can have rejuves blanketed. You can have your Lifebloom on someone. You can have your spring blossoms procced. You can pop into tree form during all of this, of course. You can hit that tranquility and then flourish. And the amount of healing, I mean, you saw it. Look at this. This is all on one target. Imagine if you're doing this to an entire raid. This is all the actual effective healing at first, and then that only took a few seconds. What was that, like 6 seconds to actually top me off from getting chunked to 40% health, and then all of this is overhealing. So it is quite significant. Now, of course, if you've seen the Holy Priest video, and if you haven't, I suggest you go see it. The Holy Priest has a new raid cooldown, Holy Word Sanctuary, which is, I'm not going to spoil it, just go watch the video. It's hilarious for a raid cooldown. It's stronger than this combination, because it's one button, but it also has a 12-minute cooldown or something ridiculous. These are all 3-minute cooldowns, right? So you could actually take, 2-minute trank, delay flourish by 30 seconds, and time flourish and inner peace tranks up every 2 minutes. Or let it desync and have the trank, incarnation, tree of life, flourish combo every 3, and then have a flourish in between. If you need to, right? Very, very, very raid healing focused, or heavy, crazy Mythic Plus healing. This change alone to Tranquility by itself is hilariously strong for the Restoration Druid, which is good considering that the other healers are getting also some pretty ridiculous buffs too. If you don't know, the Mistweaver Monk also got reworked now to have the Channeled Soothing Mist instant cast heals again. So that's a huge change to Mistweaver, but this is a really big change, just baseline to the Restoration Druid. So we'll do this one more time, see if I can actually get all the hots up at once. Let's go. Let's get knocked under. Okay, yeah, that'll do, pig. That'll do. Let's refresh this. Let's do it. Let's just do it right here. Do that. Let's get smacked in the face. Pop one of these bad boys. Pop one of these beforehand. And then we'll clip that at the end just for that. So that was only 6, I think. I had 6 that time. Yeah, I didn't clip the Cenarian Ward. Damn. So the window of time, I mean, I only have 15% haste on this character. So the cast time of Tranquility is quite long, and the fact that I don't really have a good GCD. It's only, 1.5 seconds off of it. If you had like 30 or 40% haste, doing that would be much easier to actually wiggle that around. So, but imagine that during Heroism, having a 1-second global cooldown. Just, come on. That's way too good. But if you are a Restoration Druid, maybe that will excite you about how Harmony and hot stacking and that whole play style will all come together in Battle for Azeroth. And maybe the cat weaving change, that kind of stuff. Playing Balanced Druid, chicken weaving, I don't know what that's called. Because you won't be bear weaving anymore, that's for freaking sure. That's so ridiculous. Of course, always take this tome, even though this model looks terrible. It only has 1 cast animation. That's important. Wave your hands. Thank you all very much for watching. If you're, of course, new to the channel, you can hit that subscribe button to be up to date on all the first and second pass coverage on the future. On the future? In the future? On the horizon. It's late. 3:30 in the morning. Did a big stream today, too. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Restoration Druid changes. A few of them. Lost survivability directly. Crazy new Tranquility, Flourish, Madness. It'll be nuts. That'll be crazy. But I'll talk to you all very soon. I'll see you all at the live streams. Again, link is down below in the video description box. I will see you here in the YouTube comments, of course. And I will see you all in the next First Pass video. Shamans are up next.